we've checked our software. We aren't even getting to it. We turn on the computer, maybe beeps and buzzes and you can hear things rolling, but we're not really sure what's wrong with it. It's just not coming up on the screen, the keyboard's not working, the mouse isn't working, nothing seems to be working. Okay, what do? Do we just quit and throw the garbage and start over? Heck no, it might be a real simple fix. It might be just a video card has a short in it or something like that. So here's what you do. You start off and you take the computer like I've already done, you open it up and you disconnect everything but the processor. So, well, power supply and processor. So I have my power supply plugged in into the computer. Here, I'll scoot that down just so you can see I'm actually using one. And then I have my processor still is intact, and that's it, those two things. Now I'm going to turn this on, and you're going to hear that. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back off. Now when you hear a burp, 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 that's a really good sign. I know you probably are thinking that doesn't sound very good, but it is. What that's telling you is the computer saying, I know you don't have a video card because you're disconnected, but I'm going to tell you this, that your processor and your motherboard are working, and no RAM working. Well, the RAM's not working because the RAM's right here. I took it out already. So we want to get to that. Now let's pretend you didn't get the beep, 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 the long extended beeps. Well, then I'm going to check the fan on my power supply, and it's running, so I know my power supply is good. There's a little green light on your motherboard. If that's lit, that means the power supply is lighting your motherboard up. That's probably good. If you can hold a button and turn the power supply off, and just hold it there, and the power supply stops, then we know the motherboard's working. All right, so it's restarting now. I held it too long. So, so what happens is power supply fan's working, lights on, that tells you that that's all working. And then you plug in your processor and it'll start beeping like that. So if you turn on your computer and nothing happens, no fans, no nothing, power supply's bad. If the power supply fan's running and the light's on, processor's in, and there's no beeps, processor's bad. Okay, now we're on to RAM. So I'm going to take one stick of RAM, and I'm going to plug it into slot 1. Now I'm going to use, because I'm sitting here in the dark, I'm going to use my phone as a flashlight. And I'm going to find position 1 here, and I'm going to put in one stick of RAM. Now I only stick in one because if that's the problem, I'm going to know immediately. I had it in there right. Okay, now RAM goes in kind of hard sometimes. So sometimes you got to use two hands. You heard it clip. You guys have put in RAM before. So RAM stick number 1 is in. Now when I hit this, I forgot to disconnect my video card here, just a second. Got to unhook the video. I don't have a video card in this one, but if I did, I wouldn't even have it in, and I wouldn't have the sound card in either if I had one of those. So I turn this back on, and you can do this with a brand new computer too. Okay, so right now, the beeping stopped, okay? Processor's working, beeping stopped. Now, if I would have had a screen in or a sound card, you should have heard a beep. And the beep would tell you that piece of RAM is good. Okay, now I didn't hear a beep, so I'm a little nervous right now. So what I'm going to do is take that stick of RAM out and put the other stick in and see if that one beeps. Okay, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to pop this guy out, and I'm going to put the other stick in, and we're going to see if that works. Now, one of the things that can happen is maybe sometimes the computer wants to use a specific bank, and maybe the bank that I'm using, see, this one doesn't say which one's bank 1 and which one's bank 2. So I don't think it matters on this computer, but I know this computer worked a second ago because it just turned on. Here, I'm going to flip this off just for a second. Plug it back in and hit it on. All right, there we go. Now it's running. I unplugged it because something wasn't working right. Plugged it back in. You hear that little beep. Now that tells me not only is the processor working, but the RAM is also now working. So I'm going to turn this machine back off. And so far everything on this machine's working great. And I'm going to put in the other stick of RAM. Now why the other stick of RAM? Can't see again, sorry about that. Because right now I want to make sure that stick works. Because remember, the last time I had that other stick in, I didn't hear a beep. Now that could have been the problem where I had to set the computer, and I might have to do that again, by the way. So if all else fails, you don't plug it and plug it back in without replacing anything. Boy, this is not behaving very well at all. Good lesson, don't try to repair a computer in the dark. Okay, so now I'm going to fire this baby up again. Now this time I have 2 pieces of RAM in. It's not going to make any special noise. It's going to do that. Now that tells me that that those 2 sticks of RAM are probably fine. I probably should have put that other one back in the first slot and tried it again from the first slot, because that beep might have been from the first stick of RAM that I have. Other way you can tell is when I turn this on, it'll tell me how much RAM I have in there, and I can tell from that if it's working. I happen to know both those work. So it was the reset button that was the problem. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to turn it back off. And I'm going to hook up my monitor and see if my monitor is working. And I'm going to put my monitor where you can see it, and we're going to be able to tell whether it's working or not. Now, none of the hard drivers or CD-ROM isn't plugged in, so those are not working. So but now I can see what's going on. Now it's going to tell me the Dell is here, and it's going to tell me I could boot, and it tells me I don't have a drive. It tells me I don't have a secondary drive. A lot of times right in here they'll tell you how much RAM you have. It says strike F2 to go to utility, that's the BIOS, or strike 1 to continue. Well, striking 1's not going to help me. It's just going to go right back to the screen, and then we're going to have the CD-ROM hard drive. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off because it's not working yet, and I'm going to turn on the CD-ROM. I'm not going to turn it on, I'm going to plug it in, and I need my phone again. And I have to figure out which one of these is the secondary. Got it. And I got to make sure the red stripe is in pin 1 or the notches match up. Mine has notches, so I did that. And remember, the secondary means CD-ROM. All right, so I'm going to fire that up, and I'm going to show you on the screen. It should say that I don't have a primary, but I do have a secondary. Okay, so primary 0 not found, but notice that the secondary 0 is there. That means my CD-ROM is working and functioning well. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back off, and I'm going to plug in my hard drive. Now, again, I'm going to going to plug in my hard drive and fire it back up one more time. Okay, now all of this is going to work because I had a working computer, and it's going to come up and it's going to see keyboard failure because I don't have my keyboard plugged in. I forgot about that. Okay, but notice that the drives are all working now. I plug in my keyboard, plug in my mouse, I'd be back to working. Now, if this was broken, at whatever point I was adding information into this computer, it would have stopped. Okay, so everything would have worked fine. It would have done the long beeps, the little short beep beeps, and then when I got the video on and I started looking, all of a sudden it'll crash. Let's say you're putting in a sound card. Doesn't work. That means that your sound card is not working. It's got a short in it. Something's wrong with it. You touched it. You screwed it up. Pull the sound card back up and fire it back up. If it works, throw that sound card out. Get yourself a new one. If I would have been putting in the RAM and it wouldn't have been making that beep 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 sound, oh, my RAM's no good. My processor is, my RAM's not good, and I'd have to go buy new RAM. Best thing to do is find somebody that has the same kind of computer and put their good RAM in it and see if it works then. Sometimes it's the slot on the motherboard. If it would have crashed right at the end there when I put the hard drive in, oh, my hard drive's having a problem, time to reinstall the operating system. And if that doesn't work, time to get a new hard drive. So the point of putting them in one at a time is it eliminates all other possibilities. And even the sticks of RAM, one at a time, turn it on, turn it off. Now, I know a lot of you guys are ADD and you don't like to waste your time doing these methodical things, but you want to fix a computer, this is the way to do it. By the way, when you're done with one of those sheets and I wrote down everything that I did to get this thing fixed, I'm going to take a picture of it and email it to Mr. Nicholas. He's going to give you credit for fixing a computer. Every time you fix one, your grade goes up. Now, if you're already getting an A at the third 9 weeks, you only need to repair one. But if you got 3 of them and you want to do it because you're bored and stuck in your room, then go ahead, do it. Get as many as you fix. And if you're having trouble, you can film what you're having trouble with, send it to me, or just describe it, and I'll tell you what to do to fix it. So you have to fix one computer between now and June 4th, and it can be software, hardware, or both, and you get full credit for this 9 weeks. Just 2 projects, that's it. And again, if let's say you were getting a C at the 9 weeks and you fix 3 computers, that grade's going to go up. It's going to go up substantially. So any questions, email me, and we'll get these things figured out. Have a great rest of the year, guys.